What's going on, guys? It's O from Mount Confidence, and as discussed in the previous video about my psilocybin mushroom trip that I recently took, this was probably the biggest trip I have ever had in my whole life. This was my fourth mushroom trip. It was the most amount of mushrooms that I've taken, and it was the most mind-boggling, body-shaking, crazy sorts of geometric I don't even know how to describe it, okay? But I'm gonna try my best to tell you what I've learned, why I choose to do psilocybin mushrooms to begin with, and why I think some people will benefit, or not just benefit, have a complete lifestyle change, a complete change of how they perceive themselves by doing psilocybin mushrooms. Okay, so first off, how did I get into psilocybin mushrooms? I stumbled upon them, second year of university. First time I've done it, it was like 1.5 grams. I did it with a friend, and it was for fun. It was purely for fun, and I had lots of fun. But it wasn't really like the full trip. It was kind of like dipping my feet into the water. So I took 2 years off, or 3 years off. No mushrooms, no psychedelics. Just kind of figuring myself out, doing fitness, things like that. And then I start seeing all this research. I start hearing TED Talks, hearing people's experiences with mushrooms, hearing my brother's experience with mushrooms. All these people have had something in common about mushrooms or psychedelics in general, that it was one of the most life-changing experiences that they've ever had. So it was like, wow, like if a plant, a fungi that grows in nature can have you have this experience without, any known side effects, then it's like, I want to know what that is, right? Because usually life-changing experiences comes with consequences, comes with negatives, right? So my second time dabbling with these fungi was around a year ago. So it was at the beginning of the summer, actually, and I wanted to experience, like, I wanted to know what is up with these things, right? Because when I did it, I was young, it was for fun, it was a completely different experience with my friend, it was just a different experience. So I wanted to really know what is up. So knowing me, I'm a sensitive guy. I'm really scared of just doing drugs in general. So I was like, let me start off with something low. So I started off with 1.5, and it was with my brother and his friend. And we were in nature, and that was a very strong experience. The experience itself was, the come up was really intense. I had the shakes, I had, tons of anxiety. It wasn't pleasant the first hour or so, but then all of a sudden I felt this presence, felt this calm, felt that I really belonged in nature. And I remember, we were in the middle of the forest, and I'm looking in distance, and I can see some buildings and towers, and in my head I'm thinking, this doesn't make sense. Why do people live there and not live here? It didn't make sense to me. I was just so confused the whole trip. I'm I'd go to my brother and I'd talk to him, I'd have all these things that I want to communicate to him, but I can't, because what I'm experiencing is beyond linguistics. It's beyond language. It's a feeling, it's a knowing, it's an understanding that just cannot be expressed through language. And I will try my best in this video to explain to you what I've learned and the benefits of these things, but I don't think I will ever hit par with these, because it's beyond language, right? So that was a solid trip. Lots of fun. Mostly, to sum the trip, it was this presence, this sense of belonging in nature. I felt like a warrior. I felt like I belonged here. I was literally in my boxers. I had no socks, no shoes. I was just running around in nature, literally running in nature. And I felt like, insects were all over me, and I just felt one with everything. My second trip was a 2-grammer. This I have decided to do on my own, because I wanted to experience a trip by by myself. And so I went to a little spot near here, near the water. There was a tree covering me up. I'm just sitting down with my blanket like a hippie, with my speakers, and just felt, had this like little nice place set up. And that trip I will never forget, because that trip, and up to this point, guys, bear in mind, like, I'm doing these to really explore my mind, to explore my subconscious, to explore my weaknesses, to explore my strength, to explore something, to explore me as a whole, right? So like, I'm not doing these to have fun, even though every time I do them I have like loads of fun, lots of unpleasant stuff, which I will get in a bit. But it's like, I also like, I'm not in there to just sit down and hallucinate and see these things and have a blast. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but for me, I just dabble with these things so I can explore myself, to better myself. And so that 2 grammar trip came a month after the trip with my brother. Excuse me. And here's what happened. I'm lying down. The come up was not as intense, okay? Maybe because I've done them in the last month, or maybe just a different state of mind. And I remember like that summer I was going through lots of stuff. At the beginning of the summer, especially like my first trip, I just recently got out of a relationship. I don't know, I was dropping out of school, just tons of things happening. And then like a month after, for my 2 grammar trip, I was feeling a little better, still obviously processing lots of things and healing, but it was like in a better state. So it's probably why the come up wasn't as intense. Now here's what happened. Put on my headset after the come up, right? I'm feeling the shrooms. Put on my headset, I start listening to music, and I start weeping, crying because of how beautiful the music was. I just felt this like love wrapped itself around me. Like it was just, it was I can't explain the feeling, but it was just like pure love, like pure, absolute 100% love. Forget about getting that love from a partner. It's just pure love. You didn't need anything. Everything was perfect. The music was just absolutely amazing. And that's what psychedelics do, is they make you experience these things, sensations, and never ever experienced in your whole life. So and I think that's why it is one of the most meaningful experiences for lots of people, is the fact that it makes them experience these things. And there's other reasons to the unpleasantness, which I'll be talking about in a bit. So that was a trip, really. I mean, that 2 grammar trip was basically that music. And it's funny because I was in the water, and I decided to cross the water to the other side. I was like, I can handle, like, the come up was gone. I enjoyed the music. I was on shrooms, but I wasn't, it was controllable. It was very controllable. So I decided to cross the water, and as I'm crossing, there's these like 4 different hippies just chilling in the water, drinking some beer. The girl was like completely naked, which I thought was completely normal at the time. If I was sober, I'd be like, that's kind of like weird, or like not in a, just kind of like unusual. But it was like, for me, it was just like, it was completely normal, right? Like I was shirtless. I just had my boxers on me, but like for me, the girl's chilling, talking to her, her boobs are like there in front of you. It's like, it was completely like normal. It was like, it wasn't even nothing sexual whatsoever. It was just like, we were having a conversation, her and her boyfriend and the other guys, and like we were chilling, we're having a good time, and it was just an amazing time. I spent like half an hour with these guys, talked, we laughed a lot, and then I just decided to go on my own because I wanted to experience the effects alone again, right? Walking back home, I started like just giggling, laughing at everything. Like, it was just, I don't know why, there's no reason, I was just laughing. So that was a trip. Now it gets really serious, right? Because that is when I decided to do a higher dose. So the next trip, I do 3 grams, right? 3 grams of mushrooms, and I did it with one of my close friends at that time, and it was very, 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 very strong. Not in an unusual way. It's actually, it was a very, very pleasant experience overall, and it was the longest that it's ever lasted. So We went in the middle of the forest. This was, half an hour to 45 minutes away from where I used to live, and we just decided to, seclude ourselves in this place and do 3 grams of mushrooms. Now, that experience I will never forget, because it's almost like I was processing everything, right? Towards the end of the summer, when I decided to take 3 grams, it, like, storms of emotions came gushing out. Lots of crying, and not in a like help me crying, I need help. No, in like a very comforting crying, if that makes any sense. Like, it was almost like I'm enjoying that I was crying, right? It wasn't crying because I was experiencing a sense of love. It was crying because I experienced so much shit at the time that it's just like, oh my god, man, like, just get the trying to shake that off, let it express through my body. So I cried a lot. I smiled and laughed a lot on that trip. I experienced so many different emotions in that trip, and it was the longest trip I've ever, like, we were in there for 8 hours or so, and I would say 7 hours of the 8 we were like, it was like really intense. It was experiencing lots of different emotions, lots of different waves, because that's what mushrooms will do, is it's all about waves. You'll get a wave and you're like, oh my god, I'm sober again, and then boom, another wave, right? It just keeps doing that, and you learn how to ride the waves. Now, the unpleasantness, here's where it starts, okay? On that trip, I'm sitting down, and at that time I'm just completely fried. I can't do the simplest things. Me and my friend thought we were sobering up, or we were sober, and decided to roll a doobie, decided to roll a J, right? Marijuana. And I'm sitting down trying to roll it, and it was so hard to roll that I started crying, and I told my friend, I'm like, please roll this for me, I can't do this, right? Like, it was that taxing, because I was already just experiencing all these strong emotions, the crying, the just the sadness, the really strong stuff, okay? And so I gave it to him, he rolled it, we smoked, and then next thing you know, I'm riding a huge wave of mushrooms. Like, it was probably, it didn't just pick me, take me to where I was, it took me to higher than what I was. So, a combination of those two things for me doesn't work. I learned that from that trip. Here's what happened. We left our bikes somewhere, like, probably I'd say a 5-10 minute walk, and we were in the middle of the forest, and we were trying to find our way out, and we couldn't. We were going in circles, and I was freaking out. I was panicking. I was having a panic attack, because I knew, I was like, yo, we're going in circles. I don't know where the fuck we are. I just need to get home right now. I'm done. It was such a strong experience. Like, I was like, oh my god, like, I was literally sitting down. I'm like, I swear, if I get back home, I will never live life the same. Very humbling experience. We were going in circles for around maybe half an hour to an hour, and that's the thing about shrooms, you lose track, you don't have a sense of time anymore, completely dissolves. We found our bikes, right? And I go home. One of the most humbling experiences ever, one of the most meaningful experiences. Every experience I've had with mushrooms, almost every experience was one of the most meaningful experiences in my whole life. And every time I've done a mushroom trip, I came out a different person, always. Now, people are like, oh, that's a bad thing. What do you mean you came out a different person? Well, if you're not coming out a different person, whether that's dabbling with mushrooms, dabbling with meditation, or, spending a year of your life, you're not going with life. You're not going with nature. The only thing that's constant in life is change. If you're not changing with life, evolving, then that's not normal. So I consider it very normal that this change happens over the trip, obviously, because it's like taking a shortcut. It's like, rather than going like years of therapy, it's like, take this fucking fun guy that's gonna make you experience all these emotions and come out so much lighter, so much more humble, so much more appreciative and grateful for life, right? That's that. Now, my last trip. I want to talk about my last trip, right? Which was a week ago, which has just shook me to the bones. I didn't have a scale, and I knew it wasn't really a good idea to not scale them. So I had 10 grams. I bought 10 grams because I thought I would do around 10 grams of mushrooms over the summer, maybe 3-4 trips. I like to trip 3 to 4, no, that's the lie, 2 to 3 times a year, okay? And I thought 10 grams, I'd do a trip with my brother, hook him up with some shrooms, and I'd have 2 on my own. My first trip last week, I separated it in 4 different bags. 2 of them were smaller than the other 2. So forget about the smaller ones. The 2 big ones, the 2 big bags, I took 1 of them and I ate it. And I knew I was ingesting more than 3 grams of mushrooms. Like, it was anywhere between 3.5 to 4 grams. That's a given. That's 100, like, I know it. 3.5 to 4 grams of mushrooms. I was anxious. I was ready. Don't get me wrong. I've been freaking before I trip, I make sure I prepare like weeks ahead of time. I start listening to things about mushrooms, listening to things about personal development, spirituality. I just prepare myself. I meditate. I do all these things, which I'll talk about later. I want to do so many mushroom videos, so I'm just gonna try to finish this video for now, right? And I'll talk about into details, all this stuff. I sat down, a blanket again, no speaker this time, headset, incense, It's almost like every year I become even more of a hippie. I got the incense going. I got these like energy balls that, just to kind of eat them right after the mushrooms, because I don't like that unpleasant taste of mushrooms. It's so like, it's so strong and bitter. But these mushrooms actually didn't taste that bad. But anyway, so I took them, I ate them, chilling, meditating, and I know I'm in for a treat, because I knew I was taking a lot of mushrooms, and I knew like that I was anxious. So like, I just knew the come up was gonna be strong, and the come up, I'm telling you guys, was the strongest come up I've ever had in my whole life. But it wasn't an anxiety inducing come up. It was more of like a reality check come up. So I was I had this circle, there were trees around me, right? And I'm just barefoot, no socks, just going around in circles, asking all these questions. And it's almost like I was talking to my spirit guide, talking to a teacher, talking to the mushroom, talking to an entity, talking to God that's within me, talking to God that's maybe talking to something, right? And I kept asking it questions about about where I was in life, right? Like, what kind of career I wanted to pursue, like, am I over my ex-girlfriend? Like just question after question after question, and every single question that I asked this thing that I was asking, I got a response. It was like here, like, these are your answers, right? Like, forget about the books, forget about the YouTube videos, like, here are your answers. So the come up was a whole hour of me crying, getting all these answers, and I got some unpleasant answers. I'm like, that's not what I wanted to hear. But you know what? The mushrooms, that's the thing about mushrooms, they don't give you what you want to hear. They give you what you need to hear, right? So it was very strong. And I got to after that whole hour, I got to this place where I felt very lonely. I felt like I was on my own path, right? And that's the thing, bro. Like, that's reality. Every single person, every single person that's around you is on their own path. And that's the reality of things. And so I at that time, I knew, like, I'm like, yeah, this is a dark place, this is a lonely place, but this is reality. I can't change life. I can't change the way, nature does its thing. I can't change the way God does its thing, right? This is reality, right? We got friends, close friends, we got family members, we got a girlfriend, we got a wife, we got whatever. We got all those things. But at the end of the day, it's like you that's going on your journey. And it's like, that's the feeling that I had. It was kind of scary. It's kind of lonely. But then I got out of it, because I did have these similar experiences on my mushroom trips previously. Not to that intensity, but I just kind of knew, and because I've suffered from anxiety, since I was a little kid, I kind of know how to get out of those things. So it's like, I just knew, I'm like, you know what, I kind of need to be around people right now, so I'm gonna change my spot. I'm gonna go sit, you know, in the middle of the park around people and just lie down and enjoy the sun. And the walk there was the longest walk I've ever taken. And it's only like a 5-10 minute walk, and it felt like it was 2 hours, right? And I'm walking. The walk isn't bad at all, actually. The second I got up and I got physical, I got with my body, I was barefoot walking on the concrete, on the grass. That grounded me, right? Because I was feeling my body again, and I'm like, you know, I'm not really into my mind anymore. And it's like, that's the thing about mushrooms, is they magnify everything. So if you're into your mind, they're gonna magnify that you're into your mind. But then also, it's kind of easy to shift into presence. And once you shift into presence, like, your presence is like 100 times more present than it has ever been, right? So mushrooms are very interesting. So I came to lie down and started seeing visuals. That was the first time I ever saw, when I say visuals, I'm seeing like archetypes. I'm seeing monks. I'm seeing geometric shapes. I'm seeing lights. I'm seeing just like things just differently, and it wasn't freaking me out because I just knew this was the shrooms. Like, it wasn't unpleasant at all. If anything, it was like, it was pretty interesting. Like, every time I thought of my brother Saeed, I would see this old wise tree. Every time I thought of it's similar. It's so funny because like this mushroom has this feminine quality. So I was lying down and I'm just like having these revelations about how to make women more comfortable and how to make women like feel, you know, how women operate. It was literally showing me how women operate, and it makes you so feminine, the mushroom, that it teaches. It's like, hey, this is the feminine quality of nature, of everyone. You know, it's hard to explain, right? Beyond linguistics, beyond language, right? But when I say it really shook me, it made me realize that trip, the important people in my life. It made me realize the people that I wanted to be around. It made me realize that, you know what, life is tough, but what makes it better is those people who accept you for who you are, accept you for all the fuck-ups you've made, accept you for all the weaknesses you have, accept you for everything that you are. It's not the people that have the similar interests or the people that are on the same path no, it's the people that accept you for who you are. The people who share their vulnerability, right? And not just act like they're this fucking king with a superhero with a superhero cape. No, it's the people that are vulnerable, that are willing to share, you know, meaningful, deep conversations with you about life. And also have fun, right? Because if you're always talking about deep stuff, you know, like, that's, come on, right? Like we want to have fun, right? Life is already full of unpleasantness, but also full of pleasantness, right? That's what I mean. It shook me. I really want to. So, what do I think about mushrooms? What do I think I really gained out of them? Appreciation for life, appreciation for people, introspection on another level, healing. Oh my God, healing. I can't, like, that was the biggest thing I got from mushrooms, man, is healing these traumas, these emotions, these experiences in the past. I don't think anything else in my life has healed me more than the mushrooms have done. I don't think I want to mess around with them this year anymore. I think that trip was enough. It's like a calling for me. It's like whenever I'm ready, I'll go for another trip. But I don't think I'm gonna be ready for at least a year or so. We'll see. I mean, you never know with these things. But I don't think they should. I mean, you can use them recreationally, but it's like I choose them as a tool to better me as a person. And explore my mind, explore what kind of person I am, right? To evolve, to reach the peak of my confidence. I hope this experience has been helpful, insightful, motivational, whatever, man. Just sharing it. Hopefully, you know, if you are planning on doing mushrooms or you've done mushrooms in the past, let me know of your experience. Give the video a thumbs up to support the channel to help your bro grow, and comment below, let me know what you guys thought. And click that subscribe button if you haven't done so. Got tons of videos, tons of projects coming up soon. Oh, for my confidence, out.